Hi guys, my name is Sara and you guys might know me from camp as a junior unit counselor. I also grew up at camp and was also a camper, similar to you guys. And this is my dad. You might know him as Nurse Dave.
Hi, Nurse Dave here. Looking forward to learning all about making envelopes from Sara.
So I've called it Pen Pal Extravaganza, and the first thing that we're gonna do today is see how to make homemade envelopes. So they're gonna look something like this, and they'll have that back flap. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about writing letters. You can do this maybe to friends that you haven't been able to see for a while, or maybe family members that you don't get to see every day. So the first thing we're gonna do is go through the supplies that we're gonna need to do all of these things. So Nurse Dave here is gonna pick up a little piece of paper so you can kind of see a list of those things while I explain them. The first thing is we're gonna need some paper. So this can either be normal printer paper, if you have this fancier paper kind of like this, or cardstock, or maybe construction paper, you can use that as well, whatever you have at home. You're also gonna need some kind of glue. I prefer glue sticks. You can also use this school glue or white glue, and you can also use tape if you don't have glue at home. We're also gonna need scissors so that we can cut it to the right size or shape, and a writing utensil of some kind, so a pencil, a pen to make some marks, as well as some cool colored pencils if you want to decorate, so maybe crayons, colored pencils, or markers. And last thing you're gonna need on this paper, oh, I think I got them all. Nice. So we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna be teaching Nurse Dave here how to make envelopes while you guys learn as well. So you're gonna take your paper. For this example, I'm gonna be using a printer paper style paper, so it's cut just like a printer paper. And Dad here is gonna use a fancier square paper, so you can kind of see how those things look different. The first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna take your paper. If it's a rectangle like mine, you're gonna have it vertical. So you're gonna have it long ways up and down in front of you. You're then gonna take your left and right edges and you're gonna fold them in. So the amount that you fold your edges in will be the size of your envelope. So in this case, his envelope is gonna be this wide and my envelope is gonna be this wide. After you've made that fold, so make sure to press real hard so that we don't lose those later. You're then gonna take the bottom edge and you're gonna lift that up about 1/3 of the way. So if you want a little bit bigger of an envelope, you'll go a little bit higher, or if you want a smaller envelope, you'll go a little bit lower, and then you'll make that fold. You're then gonna take that top edge and you're gonna finish folding over. So you're gonna fold all the way over, and you're gonna make that fold as well.
This is pretty easy, Sara.
I hope so, yeah.
I thought it was gonna be a little harder, but pretty simple.
You're getting the hang of it.
Yep.
So once you've made all of your folds, you're gonna open them back up, and you'll see that you've made a kind of grid on your paper. When you're looking at this grid, what I'm gonna have you do next is you're gonna cut out the bottom 2 corners and the top 2 corners. So you'll take your scissors, you'll cut out your corners. Ooh, that is a lot faster than I am.
Just don't cut yourself, because
Make sure to be extra careful.
Nurse Dave doesn't want to have to come fix your finger.
This is true.
Well, I'm not really good at cutting very well. I didn't learn that in kindergarten.
That's okay. That's why we're practicing. So you're gonna cut out all 4 of your corners. I like to keep those scrap corners. That way, if I want to write little notes or if I have a need for little pieces of scrap paper, you can have them. But if you don't want to, you're welcome to throw them away. I just figured I'd keep them just in case so we're not wasting too much paper. So once you've cut all those out, you're gonna go back to your envelope. You're gonna make sure you're holding it the right way. So this was my bottom fold, so I'm gonna make sure it's closest to me. And you're gonna fold in your 2 sides. So you're gonna fold them in so that back outer part you can see. You're then gonna take your glue stick or your wet glue or school glue, or you'll take tape at this point. And you're basically gonna glue all of the edges of these flaps that are facing up. So you're gonna take your glue stick, make sure to give a generous amount, that way it won't dry and then it won't stick. So you're gonna make sure you're kind of lathering that up with glue.
Put a lot of glue on there?
Yep.
All right.
Once you have it all glued, you're gonna make sure they're flat and you're gonna take that bottom fold and you're gonna lift it up nice
Yeah, my edges aren't quite as fancy as yours.
And then you're gonna press in to make sure that we're letting that glue dry. Also remember to close your glue sticks, that way they don't dry out. We don't wanna waste glue sticks here.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you can either keep this top fold as a square, so then you'd have that square closing envelope. This is just a preference. Or if you want that more common look in your envelopes, you can fold it to make that triangle. So the way that you do that is you're gonna take one of your edges, you're gonna fold it down so that it's parallel to that top flap. You'll do it on the other side. You'll fold it down. So if you see on mine, we have a little bit of that overlap, that's okay. And on his, you don't. That's just gonna depend on the size of the envelope you're making. And then you're gonna take your scissors and you're gonna cut off those little flaps. That way, we don't have too much bulk.
And again, be careful when you're cutting. You don't want to cut yourself.
Awesome, and in this case, you can see mine. I have that nice tip. Dad's here because he had a bit bigger of an envelope. It's gonna have that like blunt edge. And if you want, you can cut these edges to make it more of a rounded shape. So if you wanted more of a rounded envelope like that. Then, when you're ready to send your envelope, so put it in the mail, you wanna make sure that you're then gluing these top edges closed. That way, the letter that you put inside is not gonna fall out or get lost, and you'll have a nice sealed envelope.
But don't seal it shut without putting your letter in the envelope, because that's what I did earlier when I was practicing. I forgot that I had to put the letter inside. Oopsie.
Yeah, so after you've made a couple envelopes the way that I have, you can kind of keep all those envelopes for future letters, and you'll keep all those flaps open. That way, you can put your letter inside. So the next thing we're gonna have you guys look at is I've done a couple fonts that I like to use, so we'll have our camera woman look down at those. At this point, you're welcome to pause the video, and that way you can copy them down yourself into your notebook, or if you're writing the person's name, you're welcome to address your letter right now. Awesome. So the next thing that I want to talk about is actually writing that letter. So once you've made your homemade envelope, it's going to be the particular size that you made it. You will take paper and you'll measure out the size of your envelope on that paper. So in this case, this is my paper. I measured it out. I drew lines with my pen and pencil, and then I cut out that piece of paper. Then, to make sure it fits, I folded it up and double checked to make sure that my piece of paper will fit into my envelope. If it doesn't fit, you're welcome to just kind of trim off some of the edges. That's okay too. What I did on the back of this paper is I made some bubble letters. I did paste for this example. It'll look something like this. And you're welcome to write words or little phrases or maybe quotes or things that remind you of camp, or maybe that reminds you of whoever you're sending your letter to. And then you can take any cool pencils or crayons that you have, and you can kind of just make designs. So whether you're making a little tornado, we have other tornadoes up here. You can also make grids if you wanted to add multiple colors. So if you're making a grid, you're just gonna make a bunch of lines. It doesn't really matter how far apart or how many you make. And then you'll make some more lines across them to make these little grids. You can also make little squigglies. This is just gonna be decorated however you want. That way you can add some color to the back of your letter. Then, when you're writing a letter, you'll take that other side, and the first thing that you'll write is the name of the person that you're writing it to. So in this case, if I was writing a letter to Nurse Dave, I would write Nurse Dave.
Or Dear Nurse Dave.
Or Dear Nurse Dave.
I kind of like that when people do that. Nurse Dave.
Right. And then the rest of your letter will go down there. This is when you can ask them, how are you doing, or how have you been? Or what kinds of things have you been doing, or what's the weather like, or kind of asking them about their hobbies or what they've been doing to keep themselves busy, or any questions that you might have. So if you have some good cabin chat questions that you want to ask them, or some like fun facts you want to know about them, those are things that you can ask and talk about in the bottom of that letter. Then once you've written your letter, You've maybe decorated the back if you want to. You're gonna place your letter into your envelope. You're then gonna take your glue stick or maybe your tape. So if you're taping it, you'll just tape all those edges. If you're using glue, you're gonna make sure that you're putting a generous amount of glue onto this envelope on all of those edges. And then you're gonna close and press shut. Then, some of the most important parts of your letter to make sure it gets to where you want it to go, of course, is you're gonna address your letter. So the first thing is in that top left-hand corner, you're gonna write your name and your address. So in this case, my name would be Sara Leinenweber, and then underneath it, I'm gonna put my street address, the city that I'm in, the state, and my zip code. Then in the middle of your letter, you're gonna write the name and the address of the person you wanna send your letter to. So in this case, I would write Nurse Dave, and underneath it, I'm gonna write his number and street address, the city that he lives in, the state, and the zip code of that city. And then the most important part to make sure it actually will get sent is at the top right, you're gonna take a US postal stamp. So not just a sticker, but a stamp. You can ask your parents if you guys wanna find some of these, and you'll paste that up in the corner to make sure that it gets where it's going. So that's it for today. Hopefully we'll make some more videos and you can get a little bit more of us. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you guys have fun.
Take care.